Hello everybody, it's Carpo. Took a walk up to my favorite local park here, and it's nice and early in the morning, and I'm just gonna have a nice quiet moment, smoke a bowl, make a video. Question for the day is, why don't we do bad things? And what I mean is, not necessarily bad things, such as things that might get people adrenaline rush, things you do when you're young, like maybe, destruction or tagging or something like that. I'm thinking about what keeps us from doing selfish things. And as I was walking up here, it was kind of nagging at me, and I was thinking exactly what keeps us from doing things for selfish reasons. What I mean would be like, if I see a situation where I know I could take something that's, let's say, try to give an example that doesn't harm anyone. Say there's something sitting outside of a major company, like a big business, a multinational corporation, and they left something sitting out in the driveway, maybe a little box or something, and you can grab it, you can get away with it, and you could make $1,000, let's say. But you don't do it out of values, out of integrity, or out of morals, whatever it may be. What are the morals behind that? And why do we do that? Why do we make those choices? And is it because we're afraid of karma? Probably not. Karma isn't a very... people may say they believe in karma, but most people will take what they can and worry about the circumstances and consequences later. But could you say that maybe it's not karma but guilt? I would say that that's probably a big part of it. The guilt a person feels. But usually that guilt is from harming someone else. So if you were, say, to harm the company, Let me give you a better example. I went and bought Modest Mouse tickets the other day to go to the concert, and I ended up having to pay a lot more than they cost. I ended up getting them still half of what what other people were charging. I paid like $75 for 2 tickets. When I went in, they didn't even scan the tickets or tear them. So I went back outside, and I had the option. I could scalp them right there. And I thought, is that right? It's not going to harm anyone if I do. I chose to set them on the sign, and hopefully somebody would find them. Now, I ask myself every time I do something like that, what is my reasoning for that? Am I doing it just to say, oh, I'm better than I could have been, or that, my values are superior, or no. Am I doing it because I'm afraid of getting bad karma? No. What is the reason for some of the things that we do? If we can do something that benefits us and harms no other, what keeps us from doing that? And I guess what it is for me personally is because I used to have no problem stealing from corporations or grocery stores. I never ever stole from a friend or family member. It was like totally forbidden. Never would even consider it. But you put me in a grocery store and I'll take all the candy bars, whatever you want. I used to steal beer in my backpack when I was a kid. And I always said, well, I'm justified because, they get their money through insurance. And so yada, yada, yada. The excuses we make for taking more than we deserve, right? Over the years, I started to understand how the system works and how when one person takes a little bit, even that one little insurance claim, somebody pays the price in the end. And if the big company pays the price in the end, then they'll just pass that loss on to their employees, you see? And the prices of everything will go up. It's just like people who commit insurance fraud. Sure, you can get away with a little bit of extra money there for something that didn't happen, but it's costing everyone in the long run. And that's one of the hardest things for people to grasp, I think. We run our politics the same way. We don't worry about who we're screwing right now or the long-term effects of it. We merely say, oh well, I got to get mine now, and whatever happens, happens. And I think that's kind of how a lot of the like stealing goes. I guess stealing is the example I'm using here when I say do bad things, because a lot of people are hungry, a lot of people don't have much money, and most of the crime in this world is related to defending property or obtaining property. See, one might say that the wars are all fought over religion, but that's not true. Religion is used as a catalyst to get people to fight, but the battles are all done over money, resources. And in the individual life, it's a lot easier for one person to make up excuses. There was a group experiment they did where they put a bunch of people. It's a very famous experiment where they took a bunch of college kids and they put them in a group, and they separated them into prisoners and guards. And within a few days, the guards were abusing the prisoners to the extent that they had to stop the experiment, because even though it was a hypothetical situation, they had put themselves into these roles and seen themselves as superior and justified for doing what they were doing. And I look at this all the time when I look at folks who justify bad things that they do, or taking from others. It's the old Robin Hood complex. It's like the old level the playing field, dispense the money to everyone. And these are just some of the excuses that we use in our lives to justify taking more than our share. And it's a really hard one for me, because my ultimate point here is, should I take something when I see it and I know it's not going to harm anyone? Like, should I take every opportunity to better myself, take a selfish approach to it, and get what's mine as long as I'm harming no one? Or should I be humble and have humility and be content with what I have? It comes down to the old contentment thing. A lot of people are content with having little because they've convinced themselves that that's how it's always going to be. And a lot of people are content with having little because they've had a taste of what it means to have money, and they don't want that complexity in their life. But the people who want money and goods always assume that everyone who doesn't have it is just lying to themselves if they say they don't want money. I really don't want money, but I want to be able to support my family. I want to be able to go do the fun things in life that I want to do, and so I find a happy medium there. I don't expect to be able to do everything, but as far as the selfish notion, I guess my question is, what degree of selfishness should we have in this world? You can't sacrifice yourself for everyone. You can't sacrifice and give away all your love in hopes of getting it returned, because I know a lot of modern day type spiritual movements say that that's the way to do it, to give everything, to just the secret, that whole thing where you just give out and you give your intention and give everything away and everything comes back to you. And I don't think that it's really that cut and dry. I've met a lot of people who have tried that, given everything away and start over, and it doesn't get rid of that part of your mind that it's just like trying to fill a hole of discomfort with stuff. It's the exact opposite. It's trying to get rid of your stuff to get rid of the discomfort, and is somewhere in between. We have our possessions, we have our happy medium, and we have our lives, and we have to look out for ourselves. That's all I'm really saying here, is that we can't take it to the extent where we suffer in our own lives because we're afraid of compromising some value that we have, but we don't want to compromise our values. So it's catch-22, right? Anyway, hope you're all doing fantastic today. This is the park I'm at. Little playground over there. Nothing special, but it's 5 blocks away from my house. It's been really beautiful here in Portland lately. Like 80s. It's pretty hot this time of year. Well, this tree right here is awesome. Is it a hawthorn? Let's see. Affirmative. That's a hawthorn. I got 2 of these in my yard. They're beautiful, but they're sharp. Namaste from Portland, yo.